Hey. Okay, so this is the Becomings. Welcome to the Becomings with Mo, me. Hey. Subscribe, and share. Okay? I have to enunciate and get all of those syllables out. Okay, so today, I don't know what I want to talk about exactly. I don't know what the title of this video should be. I know I just woke up feeling lovely, okay? So, this whole N of one thing, right? Study of self-study for the purposes of self-healing, self-control, which is controlling your power. Controlling your power to heal, controlling your power to thrive, controlling your power to exist on the highest level and be your best self, right? Now, this whole mental detox, this mind detox. And now, I was listening to somebody who said the name of somebody else, and then I went and looked that person up. I don't have my book with me right here where I jotted down the notes. So later on, I'll write it in the description who this gentleman is, what his name is, that came up with this, or that I heard talk about this, right? Mind detox, a whole mental detox, right? When I first heard it, I was like, what is that? But pretty much is meditating on certain things, right? It's cutting off certain things. It's guarding exactly what you allow into your mind. And instead of consuming the negative things or the things that won't push you forward in the direction of your goal, like soap operas, TV shows, the news, gossip sites, things like that. Instead of doing that, you're meditating on positive things in your life. You're keeping focus by thinking about the things, the purpose that you're living, right? By thinking about the things that drives you, what your goals are, and how those things make you feel. And you're not just thinking about it, but you're thinking about it as if you already have it, right? So your mind and everything, so you're feeling it, you're putting yourself in that place, right? And you're doing this in the morning when you wake up, when you first wake up, like you're spending 30 minutes thinking on this. And then at night, before you go to bed, you're spending 30 minutes thinking about the things that you have accomplished over your day, how it made you feel. It's kind of like a positive recap, right? And then you're thinking about the things that you want to happen into the future, right? And you're thinking about it as if it already existed, as if you already have it, and you're thinking about how that feels, right? Now, I'll do another video going over it or explaining it, or you know what? I will just, in the comment section, I will put a link to the video so you can go directly to his page and get it straight from the source, okay? All right. Now, because he could do a better job at explaining it than I can right now. I took that stuff in and I'm like doing it. I wrote it down. I'm doing it. It takes some time to get into that habit. Right now, I'm constantly reminding myself. I haven't mastered it yet. I have to constantly think about it and remind myself and be like, oh, yeah. Or, source will give it to me. My mind will go off on something else and then something will ding off in my head. And it's like, oh, let me change this thought around. Pull open my book. Go over those questions, and think about these things. So last night, I thought about these things, right? I reflected on these things in a moment of meditation and prayer, but it wasn't just about business and finances. It was also about romance and love, right? And I woke up, I went to sleep. I slept so beautifully last night, and I woke up smiling. Like, I woke up feeling so great. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I woke up feeling so great. So beautiful. I can't even describe the feeling. And I'm looking at my lips. One time before I did a video, I put on like heavy chapstick and it ended up clumping up right here and it looked really crazy and I didn't realize it until I got home. I don't know if it's on one of those videos or not, but I'm not gonna look for it and take it down because, you know, it is what it is. This is the becomings. This is about being vulnerable, transparent, being honest, and that's just how it be sometimes. So, you know, okay. Anyway, one of the things with this inner one, like that works. Control for your own mental health. Like that works. And yesterday I did the video, the 5 reasons why you need to control your power. Go check it out if you haven't already. Like that video if you haven't already. Share it with 5 people if you haven't already. If you have, share with 5 more people. Okay, I won't tell nobody. Share with 5 more people. Woo! But okay, so I felt so good doing that video yesterday. I was like, oh, we got to keep this momentum going. Got to keep this, you know, this feel good feel. I got to do it again while I'm feeling great. Okay. So, and you know what? While I'm doing this, I'm not going to just sit here. I am going to take you guys, and you know, I don't even have on my walking shoes. Some told me to put on a dress today. I got on a daggone dress because I'm feeling all sexy and stuff. Feeling all lovely and beautiful. And I'm going to step out and get a full body just because. Let me tilt it. Yes. Okay. So, yet I found myself, I'm at the park right now. Okay. A little bit later, I have to do a couple things. But right now I'm at the park. I said I don't want to just sit in the house this morning. Sit in the house, reflect, plan, think. I can do all of that in the park, out in nature. But why I got these heels on, I don't know. But I'm about to walk it in these heels, okay? Last time I walked it in heels like this, I was in high school, child. After I got pregnant with my first daughter at 17, had her at 18. By the time I was in my 3rd trimester, I said, screw these heels. I ain't never wearing heels again. And I tried it again over different periods in my life. It won't working. So now I got these ones. And these are cute little heels. They have like a boxy sole, a boxy heel to it, so it's easier to walk in. I ain't gotta try to balance on those stilettos right now. So you know. So we're walking. Now, the one thing I did miss about heels was how great they make the calves look. Yes, sis. Okay. Yes. So, walking in these heels, I don't feel like a lot of pressure on my knees or nothing like that, you know. So, you know, I think it can only like make my legs stronger, right? This is what I'm thinking right now. All right. So, the end of one, that worked. Just giving you some real-time feedback about that bit of self-study, right? So, for those of you watch this video, and if you have participated, you started your end of one, or even if you come across this video and maybe you've already been studying yourself, right? But it wasn't a particular name to it, right? It wasn't a particular, like, formula. It wasn't a name to it. You just studied different things about yourself, right? Not necessarily going down a list or anything like that. Share your experiences, right? We'll love to hear it. Somebody else that comes across this video will love to see it. It'll help them. It'll benefit them, right? So then we see, we ain't alone in this world, okay? We all doing this thing together, right? Right? Yes. Yes. Okay. So one of the things that was on my mind, though, last night and this morning is religion. The thing about religion and religious beliefs, right? Okay. I also want you to share how you see it, right? Like one of the things they say, people often say, we're not talking about religion, not talking about politics and stuff like that, like it's touchy subjects, but why not, right? The only issue is when people get in that negative emotions about it, right? But you can share and discuss ideas that are different from your own without going off on somebody, without feeling completely negative. I was gonna walk down there. I'm not walking down there with these heels on. I am not. There's no other path. So we're turning back around. Yeah. Not today. No. Okay. Anyways. There's people over there in the cut, they got real quiet. They're like, uh-oh, somebody's coming back here. That's funny. Okay. So, like I said in another video, I'm agnostic. And now, this spiritual journey, and that's just to put a label to it, right? Just so it's easier to communicate and easier to understand, right? Nothing I'm learning hardly ever fits perfectly in a box, right? Because there are like 50 million shades of gray in every subject matter, right? Nothing just perfectly fits in the box. So agnostic is the closest that I could say I believe, right? All right, now let's kind of break this down. It sounds like somebody's playing tennis. That was a quick walk. Okay, but I got some steps. I got more steps than I would have got. Okay, and I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna move around some more. Now, I just want to sit and boom, just talk to you guys. Oh, that sun is that way. It's gonna be a glare. Okay. Hey, that's better. Now, okay, God is who I grew up with, that title being the source of creation, right? I grew up believing that God is the source of creation. God created everything, right? So now, fast forward on my journey through different religions, different teachings, hearing different ideas and things like that being shared. How I see it now, what I know is that God has not been seen. Like, there is no way right now to prove the existence of a being outside of this universe, right? It is a belief for a reason, right? That is the whole thing about faith, right? Now, I'm sitting on this bench, and that's kind of one of the things that people use, right? Sitting in a chair. I don't have faith that this bench will hold me up. I sat down not even thinking about it. I don't have to have faith that it'll hold me up because I know that it'll hold me up, right? The thing with faith and belief, like, I don't have a belief that it'll hold me up. I know it, right? So I don't need very much faith in the bench. You know what I'm saying? And the bench's ability to not let me hit the ground. You know what I'm saying? I have a knowing, right? Now, that is why the Bible says to have faith in God, right? Because it acknowledges that there is no way of knowing, like indefinite, like there is no way of knowing, right? That's why it's a belief. That's why it's a belief system. Now, that in itself is nothing wrong with that, right? Now, when someone tries to argue the point that it is fact, that a belief is fact, then that's where the problem comes in, right? Because your belief is your belief. It is a fact that you believe it, right? And the other issue that comes in is when someone would try to say that the belief is less important, that somehow the fact of a person's religious belief or the fact outweighs the belief, right? Because even in science, they use placebo. So they're using a person's belief to heal them, right? They're using a person's belief to study other ways of healing people, right? So the belief is just as important. The belief oftentimes leads to the discovery of facts, right? And now the discovery of facts is not wrong. Even in the Bible, God is challenging you. God is challenging people, humanity, and his believers to seek him, to test him, to see that he's real, right? So he's not saying just have blind faith, right? Like some would believe. And there's nothing wrong with believing that, because if it works for you, it works for you, right? If it works, it works. But there's nothing wrong with challenging the Bible. God says, test me to see that I am real, okay? So God wants you to go out and conduct experiments. God gave us science. God gave us the tools. God put it on human beings' heart to figure out these things, to engineer methods, to sit and think about it, right? To get it wrong enough times until they got it right. To be able to figure out things so that we can move forward as a human race on this planet. So that because God is living within all of us, so that we could present his best, right? Humanity would not be at its best without different technologies. And don't think of technology as just the computers and things that you see today, okay? Fire itself at some point was a technology to be able to cook, to set up a grill. You know what I'm saying? To create stoves and places to cook your foods. That's a type of technology. The wheel is a technology, right? Like, so God gave that to us so that we can advance as a human race. Even those religions that don't don't even use zippers. Who is that? I'm not sure if those are if the Quakers, right? Is that Quakers or is that Amish? They still use like buggies, horse and buggy and stuff like that. Those are technologies. They have certain technologies, right? They just stopped at a certain point and rejected further technological advances, right? But God gave us that. God gave us a mind to discover that, right? It's God ordained. You know, God is intelligent, and a part of God is in all of us. So why wouldn't our intelligent minds be able to create these things and God bless it, right? God anoints it. It's beautiful. There's nothing wrong with that. So science is not against God and God is not against science, right? Okay. And at further like studying In Genesis 1, Genesis 1:1, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was void, right? Like, there was nothing. There was darkness. There was firmament, right? What is that? There was water. There was water before God started creating. Okay? It didn't say that God created the firmament. Unless there was some religious text that got left out of the Bible, and then, I would have to ask why. But unless there was some part that got left out of the Bible that says that God created it, it didn't say God never claimed to create the water, but God controls it. God moves it. He moved it, separated it, right? He formed the earth out of what already existed. Do you see what I'm saying? So, this leads me to believe that while God is our God, God created us, right? And God created this place for us to thrive. There is a source and a force outside of God that created the other things, and that may have even created God. Ever since you're younger, you ask the question, right? If God is our Father, who's God's Father? Who's God's mommy? Who created God? God went out and created his home. God created the heavens and the earth. God created his home, and he created us, and he created a place for us to dwell. But God did not create it out of nothing. Okay? The firmament was already there. And if the firmament is water, what is water made of? Right. Those are elements, right? Hydrogen and oxygen. Those are elements. The elements were already there. What is oxygen made out of, right? The elements come together. They came together with enough force to create new elements, right? Carbon was not at the beginning of the existence of the universe. It was hydrogen. Hydrogen came together with enough force to create helium, and so forth and so on. Like, I used to joke that hydrogen was God. But we could say, there may be some outside force, some outside place where that comes from. We just haven't discovered it yet, right? We don't know it to be fact yet, because we just haven't created those tools, right, to measure that. We haven't discovered it. We haven't figured that part out yet. But there are great minds that God created. You know what I'm saying? That's on it. That's all I'm saying. And so outside of God, and now this God, this creator, right? There are other gods. And those gods are gods just the same. The Bible never denies the existence of other gods. The Bible just urges and warns the believers in this God, in the biblical God, to not worship those other gods, right? This is getting a bit touchy, because then I would even challenge the translators of this Bible, right? Those that sat down and commissioned the Bible that we go by today. There was a council of people, and while they may have been God ordained, they are human, right? Subject to be fallible, and they left certain things out that's very relevant, right? They added certain things in that's a bit questionable, right? Like, you can't justify having sex with a child. You cannot justify rape, and things like that, right? So it's certain things that they put in that's questionable. And then there's certain other parts of the story that they left out that's very relevant, that seems to make sense, right? That adds in. There's other texts that lines right up with the Bible that other religions have been formed around, right? And now the religion is just an organized belief system, right? Is people got together and they agreed that these are the things that we believe and these are the things that we practice. But that's not spirituality in itself. That is not God in itself. Even in the Bible, Jesus came to break up certain religions, right? Certain religious beliefs, certain practices that the Jews had. You know, they was getting off course, right? And then throughout history, you have saints that's come to do the same thing, to bring the message like, hold on, people, let's bring it back. Let's bring it back. You know, we getting off course, right? That claim that they got direct messages from God. Even today, there are angels, right? There are readers. There are people, very spiritual people, who are on point with a lot of things that are helping guide people. And the way that you know that it's coming from source, right? That it's coming from source and through God is because it's in love, right? That is the one thing that is like equal and undeniable across the board, is love. Even in science, right? Even in true science, right? It's the love of discovery. It's the love of finding proof of the truth. It is the love for humanity, right? That drives people to want to do great things for the world and for other people, right? That wants to leave something positive behind that people can use, that will benefit humanity, that will grow humanity, right? And even science has been tainted, right? By those people that did not act in their higher self, that their control of their power wasn't, how could I say it? How could I word it? Like they just weren't acting in their higher self, right? Or they gave over that power to other people that weren't acting in their higher self, right? And they sold out for money, right? Or for fear of someone else's power. So that's why it's important for you to do your own self-study. And now the human mind cannot think of all things at once, right? Like it is too much. It is too heavy. It is overwhelming. As a matter of fact, even your sense of smell, olfactory came to mind. Is olfactory the sense of smell or sense of taste? Anyway, your sense of smell, if you smell a perfume, no matter how much you like it, after a while you don't smell it anymore. Your brain shuts that part off. Why? Because it gets overwhelming, like it's too many processes at once. You notice if you are studying hard, studying at something that you hadn't studied before, you're working, you're exercising your brain in a different way, you get sleepy, right? It's like your brain has to shut down to process everything because it's a lot going on, okay? So you can't think of all things at once. So it's very natural, right? And different people have different talents, have different strong points, right? So that's why, as a human race, we have relied on the experts. You know what I'm saying? If you are really good at a thing, and I can trust that you are passionate about this thing and that you are integral and that you have the village in mind, right? That you are not acting on selfish motives and intent, then I can trust you to that thing and I can come to you to that thing and I can focus my attention on the thing that I'm good at, on mastering that thing, on getting really good at that thing. And that's how we work great together in a community, right? Small and large, families, neighborhoods, all the way up to like the global community. So it's important that we are able to rely on the experts, right? But the issue is some people with ill intentions realize that along the way and realize that they have the power to manipulate that. So they put pressure in a negative way on experts so that experts are no longer acting integral. Some, not all, and I would even go as far as to say not even most. All it takes is to be able to control certain ones, right, that are influential, or that you can use that word, to say this is what it is, even though it's not, right? Just so that you can control things for your own purpose, right? And so this is what has been happening, right? And this is not recent. This has been happening, for a long time. That's one of the issues with slavery, right? That's the issues with ancient wars and things like that. Like, people manipulate the experts in spirituality, the experts in medicine, experts in different technologies, right? And that's because the masses, if you want to control the masses, then, you control who and what the masses are paying attention to, who they're listening to, who they're following, right? Who they're believing. The same is even true with religion. If the masses are believing in God, then you can take God and shape God however you want, as long as enough people believe it, as long as you speak with enough confidence and conviction, as long as you have those key players that people are already listening to or bowing down to go ahead and accept it and push forward that message, no matter how false it is, right? Right. Now, if you study history, you'll see the transformation of religious beliefs, right? You'll see how people believe different things at different times. You'll even see how certain leaders commanded that certain beliefs be taught, right? And be worshipped. And then eventually, first it may start out as fear, and we have to believe this, right? Or else we'll die. You know what I'm saying? And then eventually you teach that to your kids and they believe it too. But now you look at certain groups where it wasn't forced, where religion wasn't forced. They still had a belief, right? Because it's just natural. You're looking out at the sky, right? You're looking at the trees. You're looking at nature. You're looking at the other parts of nature outside of your human self and including your human self, because we're a part of nature too. And you're seeing death, you're seeing birth, right? And life, you're seeing rejuvenation, you're seeing how the water flows. And it's just natural to wonder what created all of this. This seemed to have been here before us, right? Before we was even here. What created it? How did it come into being, right? These are the questions that push forth science. These are the questions that are naturally, that source naturally puts on our mind and on our hearts, so that we can go out and discover certain things, right? Test him to see that he's true, right? Go out and test God. Go out and test the things in nature, right? Now, it is my belief that God is in all of us, right? I heard that God separated himself in order to experience life as a human, in order to have human experiences. Okay, I can believe that, right? I can believe there is some outside source that exists on a different dimension, that because we are in this third dimension, fourth dimension if you count time, right? So we have like the line, and then we have the box, we have the shapes that pop up, right? So we have 1D, 2D, we have single pointedness, right? That's 1D. We have the line that's 2D. Then we have the box that comes up, 3D or something like that. Do I have that right? Or either the single pointedness is, no, that can't be a 0 dimension, because then it would be nothing at all. That would be the 0 dimension, right? 0 means none, nothing, void. And even though there's really nothing in nothing, I mean, there's something in nothing. Oh my goodness. Okay, words are labels to try to describe thoughts and ideas. So let me get these labels right. Okay. We have the single pointedness, we have the line, we have the box, right? We have the square, which is just a bunch of lines, so that's the same dimension as the line. And then we have the box, right? That's 3D. That's the physical objects. It comes up out of the page. It's not just flat on that one surface. That's us. That's the things. And then they say that like time and space is the fourth dimension, right? We exist within those dimensions, so we can see those things, we can experience those things, we can experience it with our senses, with our perceptions, most of them, because there's certain things that we can't experience, like certain spectrums of light, certain sounds that we are able to pick up on, but other animals are able to pick up on, certain waves and frequencies that we can use tools to pick up on, right? Like radio waves, we can use tools to pick up on, but we can't like hear it audibly all the time. But then even certain minds in your mind at different times able to pick up on certain waves and frequencies. That's why it's certain, but it's not as strong as the physical senses. So we chunk it up to intuition, right? We just call it, we label it intuition, right? Just like a knowing, right? When we receive certain messages and things, right? But that's our mind really picking up on waves, right? The sun, there's light, and each photon of light carries messages, right? Like the light picks up the message or information of us, of our image, of our very being, and it can transfer it onto paper or onto a wall. And that's how we have photography, right? It's picking up the images on the light, and that's how we have this video. It's carried on certain waves, right? Okay. That is the nature of existence. And now, outside of this existence, I believe that there are other existences, right? Outside of even going into outer space, even going into the space that's outside of the atmosphere of this earth, even if we were to discover aliens and things like that, within this universe, or even in a multiverse, I believe that there are dimensions outside of this, right? Where source exists, where things exist that created this, right? I believe that creation is eternal. Now, I believe this because it makes sense in my mind, but it is not proven fact. So it's a belief. Now, and it's a belief that I don't share alone, right? Because it is a belief that is driving discoveries, right? There are scientists, there are great minds, there are thinkers who specialize in these particular disciplines that are using the tools available to them and that are creating new tools to try to discover these things, to try to see what's out there, right? To try to learn what different things are that we don't know, like dark matter and dark energy, right? To be able to cut through the veil or the sheet fabric of space-time, right? To see what's on the other side, to maybe discover what created all of this, right? So for right now, it is a belief. And that is my belief. And my belief is that the gods, including God of the Bible, Allah, Buddha, Vishnu, like all of the gods, right? Ra, Hathor, all of these deities, all of these spirits, energy that people gave name to explain certain forces, that it was created by something outside of this. Is my belief that humans will discover it. I hope in my lifetime, but maybe not. Hi, how you doing? That is a beautiful dog.
He's real friendly. You might come say hello.
Hello. Hey.
He's looking for treats.
Oh. You too. Oh my goodness. Side note, the dog has gray hairs like I want my beautiful grays to come in. Right over top of the brown. That is so pretty. He is so pretty. Okay. So, these are my beliefs. These are the things that I know are fact, that have been proven to be fact. These are my beliefs. And this is how I see belief and fact relating to one another and really like relying on one another, right? How we don't have to argue or like have negative feelings over sharing these ideas and information, right? That we can discuss it and actually use it to further our thoughts, right? Which leads to more questions, which leads to more discoveries, which leads to more questions, which is beautiful, right? So what I want to know is how you see it. How do you see religion and science relating? What are your beliefs? What are the things that you know to be true, right? And so in your N of one, that's part of the spirituality part of N of one, to actually sit, take the emotion out, and like just challenge your own beliefs, question your own beliefs, right? The things that you hold to be fact, but don't really understand why or how they're fact. Like if you can't explain it, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's not fact, right? If it's your belief, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's not true, right? So just question those things, challenge those things, right? Like examine it, break it apart, see exactly how it's engineered, how it's working, right? Like exactly how is this table holding us up, right? It's going to lead to more questions. It's going to lead to more questions because once you get down to it and you see like, oh, it's the particles coming together and there's certain forces and things, but then you realize, hold up, once you get down to those small levels, it ain't even touching. So why are they falling apart? Like it just leads to more questions. And it's beautiful, right? It's okay to challenge your beliefs. It's okay to challenge the things that even you know are fact or you believe are fact. And you can do it without all the negative emotions, right? You can hear from other people who believe differently from you without the negative emotions, right? Ain't no God in that. It's no love in that. All of the religious deities that push love and urges you to love one another, they're not in that. They don't ordain all of that. It's negative. It's bad, okay? The negative feelings behind it is bad. The actual talking about it, discussing it, examining it is good. Even God says to test me to see that I'm real. How do you do that? Right? God is in you, so you test your beliefs. Right? Yes. And it is beautiful and it is good. And now, the next thing, the only way to truly test it, and God knows this, right? Allah knows this, Source knows this. The only way to truly test it is to try to prove yourself wrong. And if you to honestly prove yourself wrong. And it doesn't mean that, okay, so if I believe in God, and if I set out to disprove God, it doesn't mean that I don't believe in God. It just means that I'm conducting studies to prove that God does not exist. I'm coming at it from that perspective. I'm coming at it from that angle, right? And if I absolutely cannot prove that God doesn't exist, if I absolutely cannot prove that this table is holding me up, if I absolutely cannot prove whatever it is that I'm testing, whatever it is I'm setting out to prove, then that means it's right. And that only makes sense, right? Because anybody can just find anything to go along with what they already believe, right? If I believe that God is true, I can find things to back up that I believe God is true. If I believe God is not true, I can find things to back up that God is not true. That's easy. Like the mind just can easily find those things. The real challenge is testing the opposite of what you believe, whatever it is. Test the opposite. And if you absolutely cannot prove it, then you've proved that it is true. And now, the thing with religion, what we've come to with the existence of any type of God outside of ourselves, is that we just don't know. We just don't know. But until we do know, the belief in the existence is working. It's helping us, right? It's helping us to have more empathy. It's helping us to, when used right, when we hold these principles, because that's what it's all based in, right? These certain principles and values. And when we hold those principles and values highly, and we practice these things in our lives, right? It helps us, right? It helps us. And it helps us to hold these things by believing it was ordained from an outside source, from a force that is stronger than us, right? Because sometimes you need that strength. Sometimes when you are feeling weak, you need something stronger than you to help guide you or pull you through that thing or push you through that thing, right? The mind is amazing, okay? So this is why I say I am agnostic. Right? I used to say I'm a bit atheist, a bit agnostic, but leaning more on the agnostic side. Okay. Because it's difficult, trying to use these labels to describe or to be able to share exactly what I believe, like quickly. So you just go by these labels that people already understand to try to come up with the thing that's closest to a person's understanding, which is also why when discussing these topics with other people, it's important to ask them to honestly ask and understand what they mean by certain words, right? Because you have the dictionary definition and then you have the definition that it's become in someone's mind, right? It happens, and there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes things get used, get widely used, amongst many people for a specific meaning. But then when you look at the dictionary, it really has a different meaning. So then you have people that goes by the dictionary definition and people that go by the, layman or the common person's definition of the word. So it's important to just ask, right? Just because the whole goal of these conversations is to have better understanding of another person, to have better understanding of their beliefs, so that you can have empathy, right? So empathy is just putting yourself in someone else's position, being able to feel it from their perspective. It's an important part of love, right? To be able to understand somebody, to be able to feel it from their perspective, to be able to see it from their perspective. And that's the only way. That's another belief. Okay, so that's the other part, because that's the only way that you can truly see God, right? Like they say, no man can see God. No human can see the face of God, right? That is too bright, it's too brilliant, it's too illuminous, that you cannot look upon the face of God, that you would die instantly. Why is that? Okay, so again, back to like the overloading of the brain. Your mind will split, you go crazy. So now, why is this? God is in all of us. God split himself. Now, my question, people who believe God has split himself, other people who believe that, do you believe that God is still whole and split itself at the same time? Like God kind of projected itself onto this earth, into humans as humans were born, and is still outside of humanity at the same time? That's my question. For me, I believe God is in us all. God literally divided himself, piece of himself, in all of us, right? And that there is source outside of us. And source allowed God to split himself or their self, because I believe outside of this human existence, on this earth, there's duality for the purposes of recreating and things like that. But outside of this is not masculine and feminine. You know, it's no division. It's all in one. And if God is outside of this, then God is one. You know what I'm saying? So thank you to the LGBTQ community, because, you know, while I was upset about the plurals and singular of the they, them, it's very relevant and it helps, right? So, you know, I understand that, you know, he or she isn't always accurate, right? Okay, so we just go with they, because they is he and she without having to say he, she, or he or she, or, you know, it's just easier. You could just use one word, they. Okay, so I believe God is they. I believe God is both masculine and feminine, and neither masculine nor feminine at the same time. So we're just gonna say they. And I believe they was allowed by source to split themselves into all of creation, not just humanity, but all of creation, right? To experience, to have better empathy, to experience existence from different perspectives, from very many different perspectives, right? And that the only way that you can see the face of God is if you understand life and existence from those different perspectives. And the greatest way that we can do that is by hearing and understanding other people, by seeing things from the perspective of other things, other parts of nature, mainly humanity, because we are humans and we relate to other humans. But it doesn't exclude animals, trees, you know, even fungus, bacteria, you know what I'm saying? Like seeing it from different perspectives. And that's the only way you can truly see the face of God. But because we cannot process all things at once, because our brain does not have that capacity to process all things at once, it is impossible to see the face of God. But the closest you can come to it is to gain understanding from other people, to be empathetic and loving in order to receive that understanding and being able to see it from different perspectives, it being existence and different parts of existence, right? So it's not just religion, it's not just politics, it's, you know, anything, everything, social situations, situations with people, families, just different beliefs, even tastes, right? Like the best way to experience different cultures, they say, is to taste their food. Then you're getting it from their perspective, right? You're getting existence from their perspective. How are they living? How are they preparing it? How are they sharing it with one another? How are they enjoying it together? You're getting existence from different perspectives, and that's how you get closer to God, right? And that brings us to the opposite. That is the issue, the main major issue that leads to all other issues in this world is lack of empathy, right? Lack of self-control, lack of controlling your power on its highest level. That would lead to empathy, that would lead to you seeing it and understanding it from different people's perspectives and out of love and actually caring. You know what I'm saying? The inability to do that makes it very easy to cause hurt, harm, and destruction, right? It makes it easy to not care, to only care about yourself and personal gain. Some examples: cults. An example that I feel a lot of people can relate to on different sides: racism, right? Look at history. Look at the things that was taught, right? Like, lies had to be taught in order for people to accept it, because that's not humanity's nature, right? People had to act in their lower self. They had to be selfish and lean in to that selfishness in order to believe the lies that other humans were not humans, that they were animals. And even in order to believe the lies that it's okay to treat animals that way, or other animals other than humans that way, right? You would have to lack empathy. And then the cognitive dissonance, in order to justify and make peace with that lack of empathy, or with those negative actions, with acting out of hate, with hurting other people. You would have to feed yourself the lies and feed each other the lies that you are somehow being good or kind if you allow someone basic rights and necessities like eating food. I mean, it's crazy. And I'm not saying this for anybody to get upset, but think of it. Think about it. Set the emotions aside and think about it. You know what I'm saying? That's what people are saying when they say, hey, white person, you've been lied to also. You know what I'm saying? Okay, let's bring it forward to more recent history. Oh, let's take it with the weed. Lies had to be bought, right? People had to sell lies in order for that injustice to happen. You have to sell lies to demonize a whole plant. You know what I'm saying? And then you have to attach those lies to lies that were already believed. You had to manipulate the science in a negative way. You had to prey on people's fears, right? Isn't this what happened? In order to go to the lumber company and say, I need you on board with this. You can't just say, I need you on board with this. You got to say, look, it's wiping out, they're wiping out your business. You rely on this for your newspapers. If they're going to start making it with those newspapers, where are you going to be? So it's preying off someone's fear of not being successful, someone's fear of the business failing, of running out of money, which is a resource, right? That's how we trade and barter with things in this society. So you would have to prey on someone's fear of missing out on those resources, on those things, right? For them to just go ahead along with it. That's what happened. People's fear, just built on top of a lie. People's fear of Hispanics, of Mexicans coming in, people's fear of black people, even there were even people mixed in who just simply did not want, because of what is it called, apathy, because of keeping it in the family, you know what I'm saying, like keeping it within the race, and playing off of that belief that one race is better than the other, or one haplogroup, or one type of person based on physical characteristics is better than another type of person based on physical characteristics or traits. You'll have to play on that in order to push the lie forward, right? And then in order to receive it from that other perspective, in order to receive that lie and run off of that lie, right, you would have to be operating in your lowest self, just grabbing at anything to hold on to whatever beliefs you have, right? Instead of challenging that belief by examining the opposite, right? By testing it out. Like, how many of those people actually said, okay, well, you telling me that this black man is going to smoke this weed and his eyes are going to turn red and he's going to go off and rape a white woman. Let's just, get them in a controlled setting and give them weed and see, just see, not act upon them, just see if they're going to like rape the white woman. No one tested that out. People just went along with the belief because it was easy. It was easy to add to the lie to uphold the things that they already believed, right? The challenging part is to challenge those things. The even more challenging part is to challenge those beliefs in people that you respect, people that are authority over you, people that are like your parents, grandparents, right? To challenge those beliefs. It's like actually go through scientifically and say, okay, is this true? Because then you're tearing down their beliefs because it's not fact, it's not true, right? It was all manipulation for the purposes of control. And because humans are herd creatures, because humans' natural instinct is to follow the crowd, they knew it'll be easy. All you had to do was just give certain rewards. Because there were people that actually studied the science behind this and went out and used it for their own purpose. Because while they were controlling that power, they weren't acting in their higher self. And those two go hand in hand in order for humanity to survive, to thrive, to really be healthy and whole. You would have to control your power at your highest level, right? They were controlling that power in that lower level, which pushed them to want to control other people's power. And because people just, wanted to leave it to the experts, wanted to leave it to the people that they placed in position of authority, they went along with it. It was easier, right? So this is the challenge today. As we have entered into the age of truth, right? That is the challenge, to dispel the lies, to test it out to see if it's true, right? To actually take your emotions and your beliefs and set it aside and look for the facts, right? And the truth is there. All you got to do is look and not deny it. It's there. Existence exists. This is how humanity gets whole. And now, that leads into a whole nother topic. That N word, not nigga, the other N word that we can't say. Those bad actors, right? Those bad characters, right? And I joke about not being able to say narcissist or narc because people who are going through certain traumas, people who have gone through certain things, or people that are just angry, have like weaponized the word and want to use it against everybody without full understanding of that personality type, right? But there are experts out there that are talking about it. One, Dr. Romney, who is one of the first ones that I came across. She is the one that was introduced to me by one of the narcs in my life after an argument. I came across the term because I Google and YouTube everything, and I was desperately trying to figure out what we were going through, why I'm experiencing these things, right? And I can laugh about it now because it's crazy. But then it was so emotional and it was so horrible. And I was like in Twilight Zone. And I'm like, what the hell? Is nothing funny about this? But I actually brought it up thinking this, like I found the answer to our problems, and we can be whole and we can be happy and everything will be great. And I brought it to him to find out, boy, was I wrong. Boy, did that flip. And I mean like fast. Like I can remember the argument at the bottom of the stairs in our living room. It's like imprinted in my brain. Like I can remember the reaction. I can remember how his face changed. I can remember that's when the whole attack happened, the whole campaign of like YouTube being a bad thing, like it's wrong to Google and YouTube things. And he made fun of me. And for a second, I started believing that I was wrong. But I'm like, hold up, people are sharing information. You just got to know how to search. You got to know how, just like you have to teach your children how to think, like you're born thinking, right? But then you got to learn how to think rationally, right? And this is a process that you learn as your frontal lobe is developing, Okay. So there's nothing wrong with using these tools. Not at all. Okay. There's nothing wrong with it at all. There's nothing wrong with reading books. There's nothing wrong with Googling. There's nothing wrong with YouTube because information is shared. You just have to know how to examine it. So you're not just taking it in and believing everything, any and everything that you hear and see. Okay. He came to me, and as almost a weapon, he came to me, and I don't remember exactly what video, but I remember he introduced me to Dr. Romney. And maybe he thought that that's how I came across it. But he introduced me to her. And I started studying, and she presented it in a way, she gives the information in a way that's totally understandable for me. That's totally relatable for me. She gives it in a way with empathy and understanding, so I know that I'm not alone. And she's an expert. She studied this. She went through it herself, and she studied it. You know what I'm saying? So it's not just a reaction to her experiences, right? Like his actual science behind it. And she's studying it in a scientific way. And she's presenting the information in ways that's very understandable, very relatable. She uses scientific terms, but then she breaks it down, and she speaks in plain English. So it was good. It was easy to understand and to take in and to learn what's going on. And I quickly saw that whew, I shouldn't have brought that to him. I shouldn't have did that. It only made things worse. And she gave me confirmation. And I'm like, oh, okay. So it wasn't how I presented it, the time of day that I presented it, or nothing. It was that I just brought it up at all. It was inevitable that it just was not going to go over well. And there was nothing that I could do. Speaking of which, she has a book that just came out, It's Not You, that I cannot wait to read. I just ordered it, and I cannot wait to read this book. Yeah, it's like that. Okay. So if you've truly experienced it, then you know, okay. And then there's other people that talk about it from different perspectives and based on their areas of expertise, right? So there is another woman. I want to say Jessica Young. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry if I have your name wrong. I am so sorry. But she is a lawyer. She is one of the America's, maybe the world's top attorneys. And she teaches you, her thing is slay the narcissist, how to slay the narcissist. Okay, this sister is so strong. Like, watching her videos gives me strength. Listening to her talk, knowing that she's been through it, knowing that she's figured out exactly, like, she is a person that she won't go bow down. When she went through this, she experienced all the craziness, all the trauma and all of that stuff, and she worked through it, okay? And it don't mean that she didn't experience the negativity, that she didn't have the trauma responses, but she did her N of one, and she figured out how to pull it together and push through it, and she used her expertise in law to do it and to fight these things, right? And then to teach other people how to stand up and how to negotiate and how to, just go into this boxing ring, because it's not always avoidable, right? So while I founded Lifted Life, and while I have a vision of a space that are void of those personality types, right? Which is very needed, which is very helpful. And there's science even behind that too, right? That without those personality types, people actually heal faster, heal more freely. They have the support, right? Because people around are empathetic. People are supporting each other. People are cheering each other on, right? People are able to aid. People are checking each other, right? Because even the most empathetic, that don't mean that you're perfect. No one's perfect. So you still do things that may offend or even hurt other people. The only difference is that once you realize it, you stop. You truly repent. And that repentance isn't just saying I'm sorry, right? It's like pulling teeth to get I'm sorry out of a person with a disagreeable or negative personality type, not just attitude at the time, but whole personality type, right? But even they'll say I'm sorry sometimes, for their own personal gain or whatever. But to truly repent is not just to say I'm sorry. To truly repent is to have a total turning away from that thing, right? And your empathy and your love will want to restore, will want to make right the things that you've made wrong, right? You will want to correct those violations. If you hurt somebody and you put somebody in a bad place and you realize that and you're truly sorry and you truly repent, then you will want to make sure that they are in the place that they were in before you put them in that bad place, or before you committed an action that led to them being in that bad place, or you will want to make sure that they're even better off than they was before, right? You're not going to want to just like leave them like that. You're not going to want to do more harm to them. You're not going to want to make excuses for it, right? So even good people do bad things because nobody is perfect, but you repent for it. And a repentance is a total turning away from that sin. Even the Bible says forgiveness is due to the repentant, right? So if you have not turned away from that thing, there is no forgiveness for you. Why? You don't deserve it. You're not even asking for it. You don't even want forgiveness, right? Because you're still doing it. You're constantly doing it over and over and over again. So in groups where it's all empathetic people, it's all people with integrity that holds themselves accountable, that's filled with love and that's sharing that love, you can heal and you can grow, and you can feel the difference in those rooms. You can so feel the difference just by walking in. You can walk in with your eyes closed, eyes wide shut, and you can still feel the difference. It's just something about the energy. There's something about the atmosphere, right? And I believe that has a lot to do with the thoughts. As a matter of fact, based on experiments, based on experiments that people have done that I've come across on Google. It's facts, right? The thoughts that you have sends out certain frequencies, and those frequencies can be felt. Those lower vibrational people, right? We're just gonna call them lower vibrational people because they're not just vibrating low at the moment. They're not just like stuck in some negative emotion. It's their whole personality type. They're not dealing with trauma alone. That's causing this. This has become who they are choosing to be. It's just their personality type. And those people with a lower vibrational personality type, those lower vibrational people are constantly thinking negative things, manipulative things, right? Because, and you know this by what they do, right? Like what you think becomes your actions. It becomes how you act and what you put out in the world. So people that are loving, people that are kind and empathetic, I guarantee you a majority of their thoughts are not malicious. I guarantee you they are filled with good thoughts, right? With thoughts that are empathetic, that are loving, right? That are kind and caring, empathetic. You don't believe me? Test it out on yourself, right? That is the thing I challenge you to do. You're N of one. Examine your thoughts. Pay attention to those times when you are feeling negative and examine your thoughts. Yesterday I was feeling negative. My thoughts were negative. I felt negative. It came out of me in the form of like road rage and just anger, right? And I felt it. And because I'm paying attention to myself, because I'm studying myself, I felt it throughout my whole body. And it did not feel good. It led me to stop and say, God, what is this? God, how do I change this? Right? And then a blessing came to me in the form of an integral, empathetic person that said, I'm not going to release this card to you with troubles when I know that it is within my power to fix it and make it right. And that made me feel really good. That put the positivity right back into me. It switched my thoughts from negative thoughts to positive thoughts, which then radiated throughout my body, and I was feeling good the rest of the day. Okay? Examine it in yourself, right? Examine it in yourself, because everybody has their own journey. The things that you experience today will be different from mine, but those core things stand true. When you think negative, you can even just push it yourself. Just think negative thoughts, think negative thoughts, think negative thoughts, and see how your body feels. See how you start to see things. That very same thing, read a book, right? Think negative, think negative, think negative, and then read a book. And then go back and think positive, think positive, think positive, and read that same passage in a book. See, don't you see it differently? Read the Bible. See, don't you see it differently? Because it's your perspective, it's your thoughts. And your thoughts are very real. And your thoughts can be felt. It radiates throughout your body and it radiates outside of you. Your thoughts becomes your actions. It becomes the words that you speak, the things that you do, how you perceive things, how you see things, right? Because all things in existence, everything that is in existence right now exists at the same time. Every part of everything that is in existence right now exists at the same time. But what you see in that existence is based on what you're thinking about. It's based on what you're thinking about. What you're thinking about is your perspective. It's how you see it. It's how you view it. How you're thinking about it. Right? So the thing that is ugly and horrible can also be the thing of beauty. That pain or that trauma, and that's the reframing thing that people talk about, right? That pain or that trauma is horrible and is ugly, right? But it can also be beautiful. And that doesn't mean that you have to go through it, but you can reframe your way of thinking and say that this is something that I had to go through so that I can get to here. Or you can say that without going through this, or because I went through this, I learned this. I was able to discover this about myself, and this discovering this thing about myself has added to the quality of my life, has helped me to be able to go out and achieve different things, right? Because I went through it, I was able to get stronger in that area. Because I went through that relationship, I was able to understand what narcissism is. Therefore, I'm able to see it. I'm able to see why certain relationships were the way they were in the past. I'm able to understand my mom a bit better. I'm able to see it as it comes before me so that I can block it, right? So that I won't fall into those traps. I'm able to see it in other people so that when I see it surrounding or approaching another person, I can be there for them to validate, to give love, to show that contrast, right? So that they can better navigate that way out of it. So they can build that self-confidence and like repel that type of energy, right? Maybe I didn't have to go through it in order to get there, but because I did, I'm able to. So that's a better way of reframing it, right? That's a different perspective. The ugly thing doesn't have to always be so ugly. There's beauty in even the ugly things, right? And it all starts in the mind. So I'll figure out what to call this video later. Maybe the existence of existence, how you see it, the fact and beliefs. I don't know. Everything is everything. I don't know. But thank you. This has been awesome. And now I'm going to walk around a little bit just to get some more steps in. Because, it's healthy. And, I got to live 100 more years. Okay? Got to live 100 more years. Help push forward some things. See some things come into existence. See some beautiful, amazing things become normal. For instance, okay, cars unlimited. I want to see that type of integrity be like a normal thing, right? I want to see that just be expected. As opposed to now, you expect that you got to have your guard up. If you're a woman, you probably got to take some guy with you that know a little bit about something, just so you can protect yourself, be protected. I want it to be normal where you could just go in and that the experts got you. You know that you can trust those people that's in those certain positions. I want to live to see the day when that is normal. Okay, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Remember, like, share, subscribe. Look out for the book. It's coming. Pre-order soon. N of 1. Share your stories. I would love to hear it. Look, subscribe, okay? Once I get up to a certain number of subscribers, once the channel has a certain number of subscribers, I can go live, right? And we can interact live in real time. Thank you. I'm truly honored that you took your time, you spent your time listening and sharing in these ideas with me. Peace. I love you. Till next time. I never know how to end these things. All right, bye.